Here are 10 actually helpful tips that will help you improve in Fortnite on controller. Starting with the first tip, which is to play claw. Claw, if you didn't know, is a way to hold your controller in which your index finger is placed like this. This is optimal because this allows you to press more buttons faster. Claw is not 100% necessary, but it is better as it allows you to match the speed of keyboard and mouse players. I also play right hand claw myself. There are workarounds to this by, for example, using paddles, but I haven't found them comfortable enough, which leads me to the second point, which is having the appropriate gear. Keyboard and mouse players have way more free control in their aim and builds, and leads controller players to a disadvantage in aiming and general control over their character, which is the primary reason that aim assist even exists, as aiming with a whole hand is way easier than just with a thumb. You can also get add-ons for your controller that can assist you while playing. A few of the main ones are control freaks, trigger stoppers, grip, and resistance rings. I personally use control freaks and resistance rings as of now and have used grips in the past, but I have found most of the grips to come off the controller quite easily. Control freak provides you with a longer stick and provides more grip on it, and I have found them to be the most helpful out of them all. Another part of the controller that isn't talked about much are the cables. Having too short or too long cables can interfere with your gameplay and can distract you, and similarly the controller itself is also very important, and having a controller which is most comfortable to you will be the best. For me, that was the DualShock 4 controller, and I will add a link to all of these gears in the description. Something that is very important to play better on controller is to have the best sensitivity. I believe that once you have found a comfortable sensitivity, then you should stick with it. There are so many players that seem to have a weekly habit of changing their sensitivity, and it just puts them at a disadvantage. They are essentially just resetting their skills weekly. This is my sensitivity that I have found to be the most comfortable, and I have had it for more than 2 or 3 years. If you just think about it, if you're changing your sense very often and some other controller player is perfecting his sensitivity for years, then he will outperform you any day of the week. Apart from this, you should always have a lower dead zone around 5%, as it allows you to have more control over your character and have the least amount of interference. The fourth tip is to bind your edit button to another button than the default, which is circle or B on an Xbox controller. Personally, I have my edit binded to L3, which means whenever I press in the left joystick, I have the select button as R1 and confirm edit button as R2, and I do not use confirm edit on release, which I explain in this video, which you can watch after this one. Trust me, having binded another button than your default one will usually be better, and don't hesitate to test different binds out, but don't get stuck up on it, as it should not take more than a week usually to find a comfortable bind. Speaking of having better edits, something that you should also practice that most controller players don't is your resets. Resetting your builds is 10 times harder on controller than keyboard and mouse, as we do not have a scroll to reset button. If you notice your gameplay, you will notice the amount of times that you have been sabotaged by your own inability to reset a build. You should practice your resets, and especially these resets on which you have to take out your build blueprint to make the reset. I personally must have been eliminated hundreds of times just because I couldn't perform this reset. The sixth tip is to reduce the amount you free build. A lot of controller players usually have an idea of practicing as just free building for 20 to 30 minutes right before playing ranked or tournaments. While free building is a great way to warm up your builds generally, but it shouldn't be done for more than 5 to 10 minutes in my opinion, and shouldn't be the only practice method in your arsenal. Notice your own gameplay and see that you won't perform 95% of the retakes that you practice in the free builds, or rather you won't be able to perform those retakes. I go over this more in depth in this video that you can also watch after this video. The best practice method by far is Forever Zone War, so make sure to check it out. The seventh tip, which isn't a very talked about tip, is trying not to replicate keyboard and mouse players if you are on controller. Keyboard and mouse players have way more control over their crosshair, which allows them to play more choppy yet efficient, which allows them to hit so many flicks very accurately and throw around builds more efficiently. While it isn't impossible, but it is very difficult to impersonate the gameplay of a keyboard and mouse player as a controller player. As a controller player, you can play more smoothly and you just have overall smoother mechanics due to the 360-degree movement that controller players can have. You can use the 360-degree movement to build more smoothly and transition into different positions more efficiently. You can still watch keyboard and mouse players and take what is more useful from their gameplay, such as their overall map knowledge or their decision making style. Eighth tip is to have the most optimal inventory placement. For example, I keep my shotgun in the first slot. a spray weapon in the second, and an AR or a sniper in the last one, which is usually followed by heals and rotating items in between slots. Having the shotgun in the first slot allows you to switch to your shotgun way quicker compared to it being in any other slot. To remove your shotgun, never take out the pickaxe and then switch to the shotgun. Rather, just press the build button or the switch edit button or the switch mode button, which will take out your shotgun instantly. For me, that is circle. The ninth tip is to have smaller crosshair movement while editing. A lot of controller players, whenever they are editing, stretch out their crosshair way too much than it is necessary while editing. This is easily noticeable in double edits. Make sure to practice having minimal crosshair movement while making such kind of edits to have the least mess ups and to have the best crosshair placement possible after the edit is complete, which will also help you land a shot on your enemy. The 10th and the most important tip is to never blame your input for every mistake of yours. I know it's easy to blame something such as you being on controller whenever you die and how that might be a disadvantage for you, but you must remember that growth only occurs when there is accountability for your actions. Knowing where you messed up and how you can improve on those mistakes to avoid them in the future is the literal essence of improving in anything, including Fortnite. I know myself and I know that I became complacent whenever it comes to practicing my aim, as I usually just think I have aim assist and don't need to practice my aim. But this isn't the best mindset to have, hence I miss quite a lot of easy shots. So be self-accountable rather than pointing at anything other than yourself. That was it for this video. If this video gave you any value, then you using code NHZ will truly be amazing and you subscribing will be even better. The links to the videos and gear I mentioned in this video will be present in the description, so make sure to check it out. Again, thanks for watching and see you in the next one.
Yeah.